The Valentine's rush is here. If you haven't already ordered a bouquet that's guaranteed to wow from 1-800-Flowers.com, listen up. Right now, when you lock in your order today, you'll save over 20% off 2 dozen romantic red roses. Plus, you'll get a free vase. This offer from 1-800-Flowers is only good while supplies last. So stop what you're doing and save over 20% off your bouquet with 1-800-Flowers. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
Welcome guys to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host Tony Evans. This is the second week in our Maiden month, and this is going to be a quite epic show today, as get myself comfortable, as this album is one of my favourites. It might be a shock to some of the listeners, but it's one of my favourites. I'm going to go more in depth into each of the songs. I did miss 2 songs last week. Those of you that were keen of mind and smart of brain might notice I missed 2, Quest for Fire and anyway, I missed 2 and Still Life, and I felt really bad about it. I was at work and I was just sort of listening to the album again and went, hang on, I didn't, and I wrote the notes for both those songs in my notebook, made notes. But because I got really in the moment, and I was talking about the Trooper, I think, I was keen to get to the Trooper, that I missed them. Historically, people consider Quest for Fire the worst Iron Maiden song ever written. I think that's really harsh. I think it's a really good song, based on a French movie, in '83. My brother went and saw it in the movies, completely silent, I believe. About cavemen's quest for fire. It is a pretty spectacular movie. It's a very cult movie. I urge you to watch it. You might enjoy it. And the other one was Still Life, which is about someone looking into the pond and into a river and thinks he sees a demon, and then he takes his girlfriend's life so that he won't be taken by the demon. It's quite dark. But, Maiden has those moments. Anyway, the album on which I'm going to talk about today, dear listeners, is... let me get my notes to the right spot. Okay. Rustle. Some tea in a moment, excuse me. This is for the AMSR not people, or ASMR people. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Very nice. Brave New World. Now, I know people would have expected me to pick, say, Seventh Son or Power Slave. Well, wait, guys, there's still 2 more weeks, and I'm going to do a supplementary episode on the Almost Rans for my top 4. Brave New World. That was my finger going. Why did I pick Brave New World? I think I pick it because it's the last great album before the slightly dirgy albums of the early 2000s. We'd gone into the wilderness with Blaze. Sorry, Blaze. If you listen to this, the albums I talked about this before. I actually like them. Now I've given them some credence, but being a dyed-in-the-wool Maiden fan from way back, I was like, no, I'm not going to give you any listening to this. And I did step out from that. And it was a time, honestly, when Blaze came in, that I was raising a young family. I just got married. I was emigrating to another country. Things, they just got in the way of me loving the band, and gave me a reason to give it a break. Anyway, Brave New World, released on the 29th of May in the year 2000. Interesting album, based on the book by Aldous Huxley, who also wrote The Doors of Perception, which is a crazy, crazy book. He's a scholar of the turn in the 1950s. The artwork is a twofold art. The top of the album, where Eddie is done by Derek Briggs, and the bottom part, which is what a digital artist Steve Stone did. I think it's again one of the strongest album covers, because once we turn the corner into Dance of Death and A Matter of Life and Death and Final Frontier, we sort of get lost a bit with the art. So this is a really strong art cover, I think. It had 2 lead singles off of it. Wicker Man, which got to number 9 in the UK, and Out of a Silent Planet, which got to 20. It's the first one back with Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith, and they kept Yannick Gers on to keep it a 6-piece band. Now, Yannick Gers I'd seen live a couple of times when he played with Fish, on the Wilderness of Mirrors tour, and Bruce is a friend of Fish, Derek Dick, and I think Fish went to his wedding, Bruce's wedding, and so I think, when they were looking for guitarists, they were like, hang on, and of course Yannick had been around the blocks a long time with a lot of Northern bands, so it was really good to him to get them. He's a good guitarist, even though some people say he's not plugged in when he's playing live. I think still he has a energy which the band needs. So yes, the 2 singles, Wicker Man and Out of Silent Planet. I won't talk about those right now because that's in for the second side of the episode. This is more about just the history of the particular record and why I chose it. I got to number 39 in the States, which did not a bad showing, because it was 2000, and at that time heavy metal was really mired down in some of that atrocious sort of new metals, and some hair metal was still lingering, and it was a sort of electronic, and punk was playing around, and it was just not a great time for music, really. The most of the songs were recorded live. In fact, all recorded live, which is the first time they've done that. It was the album was sort of on the back of the Ed Hunter tour. It was produced by Kevin Shirley, a absolute legend. Rush, Dream Theater, to name, and even Mr. Big, to name a few. It's 3 of the tracks from the album were leftovers from Virtual 11, Nomad, Dream of Mirrors, The Mercenary, and parts of Blood Brothers. Only song ever played live for quite a long time from that album actually was Dance of Death and Blood Brothers. Well, they're the only 2 on the Dance of Death tour. Sorry, it was Blood Brothers, which is a shame. I think when we get to talk about the tracks, we're going to go in more detail in the second part. I think it's a real shame because this is, again, as I've said to you before, with Dance of Death and A Matter of Life and Death, they suffer from that CD sound revolution where the window of sound is high, it's very loud. They have to get as much on the album as possible. This does suffer a bit from that. It's quite leggy. It's 107 minutes long, and I think the sweet spot from an album is about 40. So, already it's 17 minutes longer than you can put on a decent record. Of course, it wasn't released on vinyl, it was only released on CD. But, it's been reissued recently, of course, but before then, I don't believe it was released on vinyl. I could be wrong. Maiden collectors out there, don't shake your fist and gnash your teeth at me. Just write in and let me know, because I can be wrong. I didn't look into that. I just assumed it was only CDs. It was 2000. And we record collectors were a little bit twee then. So, it had interesting reviews. So the NME said it was they were obsolete and living in the past, which I think is really harsh, unless you're Jethro Tull, of course. Tull reference number 1. But Kerrang called it a truly towering and majestic bombast and titanic, so glorious your face will feel the heat of its breath in your nostrils. that is just a fantastic review. I wish I'd written that, to be honest, and in a previous life I probably did. His track listing is Wicker Man, Ghost of a Navigator, Brave New World, Blood Brothers, The Mercenary, Dream of Mirrors, Fallen Angel, The Nomad, Out of a Silent Planet, and The Thin Line Between Love and Hate. The only thing I will say about Silent Planet, in case I forget, it was actually based on a novel by on the movie Forbidden Planet, if you've ever seen that, with Robbie the Robot. Brilliant movie. Or the C.S. Lewis novel of the same name, published in 1938, which is a science fiction novel. I don't think C.S. Lewis wrote many science fiction novels. I wouldn't call Narnia or Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe science fiction. It has Christian allegory with Aslan, dying and coming back, and because C.S. Lewis is a very Christian person, so that's that's another podcast, another story. But yeah, so interesting. Again, sorry, I'm really dry. It's more tea today. Again, for me, Maiden, with that whole listing there, not one moment on this album, and to be honest, in any Maiden album, are you wondering where it's going to go. It almost tells you in the listing. You're going to get educated. You're going to get epic. You're going to get quality. And this album, I think, is a lost album. I really think it's lost, because I don't think people really think of it. I don't think they do. Amongst the Maiden fans of mine, I don't think it's really mentioned and talked about. And you look at the live, I know you can't, after 40 odd years, you can't have every song live, but you should have one from every era. And I just think that Wicker Man and Blood Brothers, which they play live now, they didn't for quite some time. Other songs I'd love to have seen like The Nomad. I don't know if it was played live. I never saw them in that time frame, so I don't know. Those out there did. If you saw that, brilliant. I really hope they did play it live. It isn't. We'll get to that in a minute about how fantastic that particular particular track is. But it doesn't suffer from the CD sound. It's got warm. I think because it's the live recording in the studio, instead of them all going off and doing bits and pieces here and there and dysfunctional and doing the drum track first and the bass line and then bringing in the vocals and then it's going one guitar, another guitar, and track that with keyboards, triple track. I mean, I dare say it was probably recorded on a Neve desk. It has that warmth that a Neve will give. Those that don't know what a Neve desk is, they're the best recording sound desks ever made, Neves, and I'm sure that there's most of the albums that you've listened to out there that you call dear to you probably recorded on Neve. And I'd just say yes, it's just got that really, it feels like the boys are back together again. Suddenly, hey, we've all got, the two of us have left, done our thing, got it out of our system, and brilliant solo albums, both of them. And then when, hey, this I feel enthused about Iron Maiden again. Let's make some really good music, and this is one of those albums. So I'm going to sort of wrap up in a second. I'm going to have a bit of a break, refresh my tea, and then we're going to talk about best we can, track by track, a rough estimate of how I feel about each of them, and we'll move on from there. And hopefully, you're already, when the break is on, you're teeing up this album ready to listen to after the show. I'd love to see that it is. I'm sure it is in Maiden's hearts one of the best albums they recorded of the later generation. This I call their mid-generation album, the mid-period, the renaissance of Maiden, like Priest with their when Halford came back. That was that renaissance, that power and passion again when the album that came off the back of that. And this is, I think, the same way. Anyway, guys, I'm going to pop down, put the kettle on. You do the same, and we'll chat after the break, and we'll see you on the B-side. Hi guys, welcome back to the B-side. I've got a fresh cup of tea, because you know, I'm an Englishman and I drink it quite a lot. And we're going to go track by track on this amazing album. So first off is The Wicker Man, the lead single of the album, named after a 1973 film, one of my personal favourites, horror movies of all time, one of the most disturbing movies and one of the most interesting endings, if you can get the full cut of it, you'll ever see. It's got Christopher Lee and Edward Woodward. Now I've got a little joke here for you guys. Why does Edward Woodward have so many D's in his name? Pause for thought. Because if he didn't, he'd be Ewa Woo Woo. Okay, Ewa Woo. Anyway, it's based on the pagan ritual where they would burn an effigy of a wicker man and they would put live animals, sometimes human sacrifice, but mainly animals and crops to burn to bring luck and fertility. It's set on Jersey, I think Guernsey, one of those islands. It is the Citizen Kane of horror movies. It's brilliant. I first saw it on a late night. I used to watch horror movies with my father late night on a Wednesday when I was a young kid. I love horror movies, and that came on, and it's got Elka Summer completely naked. Not Elka Summer. No. I put 1 second. I don't think it's Elka Summer. I again had a moment, but I wasn't expected to talk about that. It just came to me 1 second. Sorry guys, it was Britt Eklund. Anyway, she does a naked dance in the bedroom that will make your eyes bulge, and when I was a 10-year-old boy, that was a big thing for me. There was a lot of naked dancing and druidic kind of things going on, and Christopher Lee is ominously brilliant in it, and Edward Woodward is quite a wonderfully naive character. Anyway, I'm not selling that movie. Go and see it. Don't see the remake. It's awful. See the original movie. So I find the guitar on this album infectious, energetic, and it just has this amazing sing-along chorus, which is why it was made into a lead single. You can understand why. The artwork reflects, as I just mentioned, the burning of the Wicker Man. It is, I think, Nico's best cymbal work. It's sublime. The work on his hi-hats and his cymbals in this, again, this is not coming from a drummer, so technically I'm not going to name the cymbals. I'm just going to say hi-hats. I could be wrong. Snares even, I'm not sure. It's just beautiful. He is the master of his art, but I think this particular song really, it stands out. And it is a rollicking opening song. Opening the album on this song was just the best move. I mean, I would have closed it. You think I would have closed it on that song? No. Opening it, draw you right in. And then we move to Ghost of the Navigator. I couldn't work out what this was about. I listened to the lyrics, and I'm sure, is it based on a book? Is it based on something I couldn't share? So I did some digging, and it said that it's basically a metaphor for life and death, with the ship sailing towards the setting sun. So Bruce's vocal, and this is haunting. It's back to his old best, I think. The guitars flow behind the vocals. It's just epic. It feel the wind. You could with Maiden. I mean, Maiden is often, I think, more operatic and symphonic and detailed than anything else. You close your eyes and listen to their songs. They're not so heavy that they take your brain and mash it against the wall and you can't think straight. There's enough heavy elements and soft elements, particularly in this album. This album is less gallop, although there is some, and more delicate intro than anything else. Its balance is just sumptuously soft. But yeah, Ghost of a Navigator. Again, wish I'd seen that live. Brilliant. Haunting, I've got written down here for this particular song. But again, it's 6-7 minutes long, and it's an absolute cracker. We move into the titular track, Brave New World. again, as I mentioned before, written based on the book by Aldous Huxley. Don't ask me what that book's about. I've tried reading Aldous Huxley. I tried reading Doors of Perception, but as Bill Bailey once said famously, what he should have written down when he said, I wrote Doors of Perception. What he should have written it down was, I wrote Doors of Perception 18 million times as my brains melted on acid. Because I think Aldous was a big drug user, and it is quite there. It's a bit like the beat poetry in the American 50s LSD, like Naked Lunch and stuff. It's a bit like that. The staccato guitar picking on the intro that sort of sits behind the vocal line, I think I've got to underline the word dramatic. Again, I think that's what it is. It's dramatic. Nico's is subtle and thunderous. It does have a almost like end of Maiden epic album song, like we're going to get to, like Nomad, like Alexander the Great, like Rime of the Ancient Mariner, like those songs. It has that sort of epic feel. This whole album feels epic. Feels like they're really running at it fast. It almost feels like they've haven't had time to stop and breathe. It's just on and on and on this goes. The guitar work on it, particularly, I mean, it's very difficult when you've got three guitarists to know who's playing the solos. Unless you know them really intricately, you can sort of tell Adrian's and you can tell, Nico's and so on. And Dave's, but if a lot of the solos on this do sound a bit Nico-like, a bit Yannick-like, and I think that I might be wrong, but I think the guitar intro on Brave New World might be Yannick. Again, don't shout at me if I got it wrong. And then we move into Blood Brothers. Blood Brothers, what a brilliant live track! They dedicated this live to the Christchurch survivors of the earthquakes. They've dedicated it to tsunami survival. It's one of those things they use to draw. It's their calling card for now for the Maiden family. Us millions out there of Maiden supporters, the Blood Brothers. This is it was written by Steve Smith about the death of his father. It is a lyrical tour de force on Steve's part. Now, I know I keep saying this because I'm a Maiden fan and I'm gonna wax lyrical here, but Stephen Harris, God honest, if he was in any other medium, any other musical medium, he'd be touted as a genius. But because he's a East End boy, never learned to play, can't read music, is in a unfashionable musical medium. Still multi-millionaire. Money doesn't make you, doesn't particularly always mean that you're seen by your peers as the best. It just means that people out there know what you are. And I just think his peers don't give him his credit. They really don't. I mean, not only has he got fingers like steel, he has a technique that no other bass player uses. He's a giant. He's a titan of the musical world, and I just really wish that more people out there understood that. This does have some Maiden gallop in it. This sort of gallop is coming. It's not quite there, but it's almost there. You can feel it on the fringes. It is a great crowd bonding song. It's that, Blood Brothers, that sort of, you walk away from this and sorry, I can't sing. You walk away from this song, you might put on pause, go and get yourself a drink, come back, go around the house, turn it off. You find yourself singing along to it, even though long gone once the song has finished echoed out of your speakers and out of your ears. And so it is a brilliant middle of the album song, which sort of keeps the flow going, because we move from there into The Mercenary. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this song. It's the weakest song on the album. it sounds like a Blaze Bayley song. It almost feels like a Blaze Bayley era song, almost written for his vocal nuances. The only plus I'd say is the chorus is infectious, and I like the softness of the guitar mixed with the shades of Bruce, sort of intertwined. That's what I'm going to say for it. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Someone out there probably absolutely love it. I just think it's that we've got 107 minutes, guys. Let's fill it up, and it feels like a little bit of padding, to be fair. But as I said, it has pluses. The chorus is quite infectious, and Bruce's voice, again, is that just before it became raspy, just before it became a little bit overused. Sort of a mix of his sound, of his vocal, that he put on to Chemical Wedding and Tattooed Millionaire. I have a guilty I love Tattooed Millionaire. People hate it. I know it's a moment in time, but my God, I love that album. I queued to buy it when it came out. I was at the door of our Price Brent Cross shopping centre when it opened. I got it on CD, vinyl, and cassette. I was just in awe. I just love even the stupidness of some of the lyrics on some of the songs. But oh my God, the Mott the Hoople cover is just all the young dudes. Just makes me smile. Anyway, side note. Then we move into Dream of Mirrors. This is an interesting song. It has an Arabic motif, I feel, in the music. I think it sort of lingers a little bit. It's that leading into Nomad, but it's back. It's that, I'm not sure which of the musicians in the band has this feel for Arabic or Mediterranean. It's got a fabulous subtle Arabic feel to it. The drums come in around about 3 minutes. When they come in at about 3 minutes, it is, I know it's again not a drummer, I think it's Nico's floor toms, but it sounds like, I don't know what he's done to the toms. I think they put a gate on it so it snares in and out. It's sharp so it doesn't linger. I think they've gated it, and it just has that instant thud out, and it has it's metronomic. I'm going to use a drummer to be metronomic, but not all drummers are as metronomic as Nico. And now I know the studio, they click things to tracks, but this was 2000. I don't think they were doing that as much as they are now. Probably were, but not as much. And so what he's doing there is what he's recording, what the engineers are doing post-production possibly to get it sharp, but it's absolutely precise. He's a thing of beauty, Nico. You're a master. And lyrically, I can't speak much of lyrically. I let you listen to it and tell what you think it means. I think it's about reflection and subtle reflection of life, but I could be wrong. I'm not going to go into the lyric there. I'd just like you to take a listen to that moment at 3 minutes in, when Nico becomes a master of his art, a subtle art. I've written here, it ebbs and flows, and it snaps and it snakes and winds in a way that only Maiden could do. They meander, they draw around, they move, they're fluid. It's not, scissor, metronomic, guitar, drum, guitar. That's the prog in them, I think. The ability to influences from everywhere. Just Dream of Mirrors has that moment. Again, I don't think it's my favourite on the album, and it rolls off of The Mercenary being left over from the Blaze Bayley era. Still, so was Blood Brothers, but Blood Brothers is a gold die in the wall classic. So, moving from there to Fallen Angel. Fallen Angel is really right in the middle of Maiden's ballpark, isn't it? And it's about Lucifer and his descending into from a chosen angel to Hades or hell, and to the Prince of Darkness. It has the gallop. This is the album where I think the guys have gone, God, we haven't got a gallop on here. There's no gallop. Steve has obviously sat and gone, I need this to bounce. And it bounces from left to right and back and forth. It has religious themes, as I said. It's the guitars that sound like old Maiden. This sounds like I've pulled it straight from Peace of Mind, straight from Number of the Beast, with a bit of polish and a little bit more maturity, but it really feels it's coming from that. And I know that the band, Steve and the boys, particularly Steve, I think, has this fascination with the darker side of life. I mean, they're not Satanists, I mean, for God's sake. I mean, as I said before, with the opening part of Still Life, didn't say it before, but the backwards speaking part on that is Nico quoting a line from a comedy ripping off Idi Amin, and it basically says, I've written it down somewhere, but it says something like, don't take this seriously, and I think that's because there was a lot of, because Number of the Beast, there's Satanist and satanic panic, and I'm sorry people listening in America, because I have a big American audience, but some of your states in America I take things a little bit too seriously. I mean, I might lose listeners here, but when you start burning records, it's not far from the Nazis burning books. It really isn't. You have the ability to turn off. You have the ability not to buy the record, and you have the ability to ignore it. We are human beings, and we have rational thought. And it is a sad fact of life that this happens. It's not just America, guys, sorry. It happened in Italy. It was happening in the UK up north. It was happening, through Asia and, Russia, lots of places. But still, anyway, moving away from that, a brilliant song leading into an amazing epic Into the Nomad. Now, what can I say about this but wow, okay? No one can capture the feel of a place and time and a person or persons like Maiden. They really can't. It's everything you want. It's sweeping, dramatic. It's like you feel the heat, the desolation, the aridness, the dry throat, the sand in the eyes, or the epicness, almost the Lawrence of Arabia white flowing gowns, and the hijabs and the tents and the camels, and the search for an oasis, and just the moving around to keep safe and keep having no land and having no rights to any land, but constantly moving, and I think that in itself is a metaphor for Maiden. They have no land. They are one to everyone. They move and keep constantly moving. They don't stay in one genre and live there. They take on board. They consume. They learn. They become other things. And I think that is a great metaphor, for life, how we should be, but also for the music we're listening to. And for Maiden, that's why they're so wonderful, and why the day when they pack up bags, sad that it will be, we'll have such a wondrous back catalogue of music. Not one moment that I regret in my 48 years of life and 35 years of listening to Maiden, plus 35 years, that I regret listening to any of it. It's just wonderful. So that's what Nomad is. It's surging music. The guitars, it's Arabic. I can't describe. It's hard to put in words, but I feel the grains of sand on my skin with the attack of the staccato guitar. It almost feels like Victorian antiquarian discovering a long lost tribe of nomads just sweeping across the deserts. It does have that feel of Dune, from Peace of Mind. It really does. You could make a movie out of it. I'd be amazed to see a video clip for this. It's surgingly wonderful, and it's not even the end of the album. Now I would have closed the album out with that. Be like, hey guys, I've just made us $10 million. This is the best song we've ever written. Tick. I truly, and I'm going to say it out now, it's in my top favourite 5 Maiden songs of all time. It really is. And to be honest, most of my top favourite are epics. Because I think they do it the best. It has gallop. As I said, it has changes of time signatures. It moves from one to another. It's like the sands of the desert. It snakes and it's fluid. It's sumptuous, I think is the right word. And again, I don't know if they played it live. I mean, I saw Maiden perform. I've only seen them perform Rime of the Ancient Mariner once, and it was the greatest musical moment of my life. I remember they were playing, I was headbanging like mad, and Dave is one side of me, and my wife Karen's on the other, and the fog's rolling in, and it's gone to that bass solo bit, doom 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 doom, and I'm just getting down with it. And I remember looking up, and Karen's looking at me quizzically because I'm not staring at the band, and Dave looks across at Karen, and I hear him say, don't interrupt him, he's deep in the moment. And that's how I feel when I listen to Nomad. I get deep in the moment. They have those deep in the moment feelings, don't they? They got that, anyway, I hope that's enthused you. I hope you want to go and listen to that song now. You're going to listen and say, Tone, what are you talking about? But trust me, it's making me dry just thinking about it. Let me have some more tea, one moment. But, as I said, I would have closed it out there. Nope. We still have 2 more songs. We've got Out of the Silent Planet. Based on, as said, by a book by C.S. Lewis and by a movie from the 50s, a brilliant science fiction movie they remade with bloody, what's his name from Friends? Joey, I mean, really. And they made a fantastic TV series, kitschy TV series that went on for years, and the movie is quite dark. The TV series, of course, is not, with Robbie the Robot. It has again that theme that this album seems to have. It staccato guitar, quiet openers. It doesn't jump in and smash you in the face. Bruce vocal on this, I think, is the best I've heard on the album. The machine gun drums that just drill at you. You feel the space. You feel the loneliness. You feel the void in this song. The way that Bruce holds the note. He just holds a vocal point on this song to the point where you think, come on, Bruce. And then he goes, and it's just, it goes from rasping vocals to an angelic rise, typical Bruce, very much early Rob Halford is very similar. They don't make vocalists like that anymore. They just don't, because they all want to just be guttural monsters. They don't have this operatic sense of power and drama. And it was a good single. Came out a second single got into 20 in the charts. Brilliant artwork for it. I've got it on picture disc. I absolutely love it. It is a single that they probably wouldn't put out now. If I think about it now and I look back at the track listing, what if they were to go back and think what were they going to release as a single? Russell. They'd probably put out some like Fallen Angel, maybe even Ghost of the Navigator, because they're brave enough to do songs like that. And then they wanted radio friendly. That Maiden had never been radio friendly, but they wanted radio friendly, and Out of the Silent Planet sold singles. It's a great song. I think it could go on other albums. It could easily sit on Somewhere Back in Time and be there and not get lost. So it's, again, as I said before, this album's a brilliant mix of classics. And then we get to the end. A very strange song at the end. I think this song would sit better on... It sounds like it almost should have been released much, much later on the Book of Souls tour album. This is The Thin Line Between Love and Hate. The line between love and hate, sorry. Yeah. It's the most rock and roll of the tracks on the album. It has a frenetic chorus. It's a very wordy song. How Bruce keeps up with the vocal without losing it now. I mean, again, they probably never played this live because I think Bruce will struggle to keep up with it nowadays. He doesn't take much of a breath. He's in a register that's quite high. I think for that time Bruce was struggling with high registers, and I think, and you can tell that in the last album actually, where he struggles on Writing on the Wall. We've mentioned that before, way back in early podcasts. Again, Nico is just marvellous. I really think Nico is a standout performer on this album. Steve's bass on this, though, is bouncy. It's beautifully mixed forward into the mix. And I also think this is, even though Seventh Son of a Seventh Thumb, I said before, was the sort of start of their prog albums, this, because of the Bailey years, their prog got lost. And this prog stuff, it feels proggy. I think Bruce's prog love and Steve come together again. And you've got textures and intricate solos. 5 minutes 48 is very bluesy. It's very driven, and Bruce is also very sad and laconical. And at 6 minutes 32, it chases off again at a high tempo, and it has this call and answer guitar solo, which is very proggy. And then it comes back at 7 minutes 37, and it's faster it's really classical Maiden at its very, very best. So you can see why you would end the album on this. If I was to mix the album, I would stick this before Nomad, put Nomad at the end. Because the end of Thin Line, you don't sing along. You know, an album when it fades out, it's like it going for dinner. The end of the meal, the dessert comes at the end, and when you're walking home or on the bus, or in the cab, or leaving your friend's house, getting into the car, you always remember dessert. If it was bad or if it was good, you remember dessert. And this is not quite dessert. It's more a après-vis. I think that it should be Nomad, if I was thinking about it. And I'd probably cut Mercenary out of the mix, and maybe Fallen Angel. I love Fallen Angel, I said. I'd probably look at that. Maybe. No, I'm being harsh. I'd cut Mercenary, put it as a B-side of a single, or B-side of a 12-inch, or special edition DVD, CD, but not on the original run of the album. I think it's a little bit lost. But so it fins with a great laconic, sad lyric written by a band, I think, at their peak. It's as I said before, it feels like the band's gone, yay, everyone's back together, man, let's get on the road, let's make some music, let's be like the old days. And it has the old days feel, before it got all the strange studio sounds and mixing and audio jiggery pokery of Dance of Death and Matter of Life and Death, and possibly the worst album that they produced, as I think was the one with Speed of Light on it, that thing, Final Frontier was all right. It just felt like they weren't making any effort, and they were trying to dupe people by saying, hey, it's the Final Frontier, it's the final one. I don't know, it was all this rumours. Anyway, that's a different story, different kettle of fish, and I'm sure people out there love that album. Me, not so much. But so I give this album a 5 out of 5. I would absolutely give this 5 out of 5, same as Peace of Mind. It doesn't let you down, even Mercenary, you know, it bounces around a bit. So go grab yourself a copy, put it on, play it, see if you feel the same as me. You know, do me a favour, do it with put the lights off, put some really good headphones on if you've got them, and give this album a much needed listen. I hope you enjoyed that. Please do jump on Buy Me a Coffee and subscribe to the show and help fund this show so I can buy better equipment and pay for my subscription for Acast. Please go like and subscribe, give me a review, whether it's negative or positive. Keep listening. And on the final note, I just want to say that as of recording yesterday was the 11th anniversary of the death of Gary Moore. The world lost the greatest white blues man who ever lived, my absolute guitar hero, and I would just like to say, wherever you are, Gary, keep playing. I'm sure Phil Lynnett's up there playing with you. I'm sure, even though you didn't get on with him, Ginger Baker's on drums up there, you know, I'm sure you're up there with your heroes and you're playing blues, dirty, fast, classic bluegrass blues, whatever you want, fire alarm blues, whatever blues you like, you're doing it. Thanks for making me smile, giving me a reason to try and play guitar, and realizing that no one man should have that much talent. Anyway, this is Tony Evans signing off. I'll see you next week on another Maiden voyage. What will it be? Can you guess? I'd love to know if you can. Anyway, see you next week, guys. Bye for now.